isolation is the enemy of innovation. Great ideas rarely ever happen in isolation. Innovation doesn't live in silos, it lives in collisions. If you're building in isolation, you're limiting your future. What do you mean by that?
The entire X Factor concept was built upon this idea that Tommy and I were always in search of a specific person, right? And if you think about it, it all started from this idea of like I'm tired of doing average work for people. I don't want to say average people, but I'm tired of doing average work that there's no intention or purpose behind it, right? And so then we went on this lack of a better term, like this pursuit of finding a like-minded mentality, right? And the biggest reason for that is because when we started building out X Factor, we started doing all these different things. What ended up happening is the only reason why X Factor became what it is today is because we had, you and I, first of all, right? We're bouncing ideas off of each other. In my opinion, the ideas that you have, if you have no one to share them with, how do you make them better? How do you know if they're good ideas? And then obviously we tagged in our group of people. We started with Ticketry from the very beginning, right? And you know what I mean by isolation, is the enemy of innovation. Is without like-minded people and the people who are going to tell you and just be blunt and direct to say, dude, that idea sucks, or you know what, that's a good idea, but what if you looked at it from a different perspective, right? So that's in essence what it is. What do you think?
Well, I think, and you had shared this with me, and I'm not going to do as good of a job by any means, that when you described it to me, you were talking about like the group think tank.
Yeah.
Right? So basically, from my interpretation, you had a conversation with a very intelligent mentor. And
Mike?
Yes.
Good.
And he had talked about the think tank idea on how to teach people how to critically think.
Yeah.
And I think now that's all I can think about. What's important to note about that is like with all of us in our phones 24/7.
Yep.
We don't actually think we're always distracted. Like for me, it's TV. Love TV. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's actually a shout out. That's how Griffin and I first bonded together. Randomly, we're looking at each other on screen. You know how guys get, like we can
ego,
get,
dude.
Ego. I would knock this guy out. Thinking
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about Blacklist, and I was like, and it's funny because this actually ties full circle. Blacklist.
It does.
Where I'm like, that's the most fascinating show for me because it's about critical thinking, because it's things that it's fiction, but is it? Like there's
the framework's definitely
there's a spin, and it's like, yeah, everything maybe isn't true in there, but it's like, if these things were true, like this is how they would do it, and it's like, well, we're not going to go down that alley. Anyways, getting back on track. Actually,
before that, I want to dig in here for a second, because I think that yes, it's fiction, but your ability to be cognizant to realize there actually might be something to learn from something that is fiction, right? When most people when most people watch TV, it's like, oh, I'm in the plot line, I'm here and here, but no one's really thinking about what can I truly learn from this, right? No one's diving deeper into those kind of things.
Well, it's because like I just said, I'm a big TV guy, like Billions, Blacklist, Suits, like those are my 3 shows.
Yeah,
and in there, I've watched them all probably 5 times each, like spend way too much time watching TV. But like in Billions, I'm looking at Bobby Axelrod. Like, what is he doing in the billionaire status, right? But I'm also watching Chuck Rhodes as the, I forget what his title is, the Southern District, the Attorney General of the Southern District, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. But like, he's very strategic, multi-layered chess, right? So I'm thinking of his strategy brain and watching them go back and forth. How are they battling strategically in a different sandbox than I've personally seen before, And then I'm also looking at their rhetoric, like how do they speak? Chuck Rhodes always using analogies. He starts with a poem or something like that. It's basically a poem to me. And then tie that over to Raymond Reddington over in Blacklist, where he's using analogies, and he starts with a story to get his lesson across.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then, I mean, Raymond Reddington just, again, criminal, doesn't make, but the way that he acts, the way that he operates.
It's his way of thinking.
It's his way of thinking and anticipating the moves, 3, 4, 5 times down the line,
Yes.
similar to Chuck Rhodes, similar to Bobby Axelrod. Like, it's this giant game of chess that everybody's playing.
And now do me a favor and tie this back to this whole idea of isolation and ideas. Because when you're describing these different people and in their way of thinking, right? It all comes down to this concept of critical thinking, which is where you started, right? And when we went to build out X Factor, right? Without critical thinking, without this concept of if we were alone, it never would have become what it is, right? Whether it's you and I, whether it's the group that we've built, or the people that we've grown with, and where it's evolved into. But the point is, when you take critical thinking, right, and you mix it with having a group of people that you can be your genuine, authentic self with to share these ideas, tie this back to why is it so important that you can't be isolated with ideas, and you have to have the right people around you in order to bring them to life.
So we've been at X Factor, like actually starting and making progress with X Factor for basically about 11 months now.
Yeah.
11, 12 months.
Yeah.
We threw our first event. We had about 115, 125 people there. There was the crowd there. It was so great. We had great momentum, then we lost it all.
Yeah.
We did not strategically think it out. What were the next steps? X, Y, Z. We got a little ahead of ourselves, and it was chaos. We pulled it off, though, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't. The momentum that was all built from the event, we ended up basically losing it all to then grab it back and grab the traction for the second event that we had 6 months later.
Yeah.
And then we brought traction back, and still we had great momentum after that, but we still could have been moving faster. Now, 2 months after the event, as we've continued with after our Granite Links Wednesdays to Urban Wild Wednesdays now, to the real estate development tour, to the Saturday sweats, to even the CG broker open house yesterday.
Phenomenal, by the way.
Fantastic. But now we have people that are coming to us with ideas.
Yes.
Where before everybody was kind of just going with the flow, but more and more conversations that we're having. Now it's like, all right, they've been around us. Like, we've been talking about all these different things. And what's very important there is we haven't just talked, we've proven it. We've actually backed up the talk. But now, as the more and more that we speak, the more and more that we post, the more and more that we have these conversations about what's going on in X Factor, now people are starting to come to us with brilliant ideas. Like I was telling you about one of our buddies who had talked about the reflection night that we're planning.
Yes.
Like he just came out of the
Fantastic.
blue and said, hey, like, let's do a reflection night. And what's wicked funny is that was a God wink for me. Because I was going over, all right, what other events should we be going on, or what other events should we be throwing, using ChatGPT, just going back and forth with it. And one of them was a reflection night. I kind of scrolled through it. I was like, that's a good idea. Like, kind of looked past it. And then my buddy just called me out of the blue. He's like, dude, I have a great idea of an event that you guys should be throwing for X Factor. I was like, all right, talk to me. What do you got? And he's like, we should be doing a reflection night. Let's reflect on 2025. What are all the things that went well? What are the things that we could have improved on? But then tie that into goal setting for 2026.
I love it.
And then really harness in on the goals. What are the 2026 goals? And then how can we reverse engineer them? Let's turn them in from year-long goals to 3-month-long goals to month-long goals to weekly goals, to then break it up down into daily goals.
Yes, and I'm gonna hop in here quick. So I got off of a call with Mark recently, right?
Yep.
And one of the things that we were going over is after our first conversation, it came down to this idea of clarity, right? And I'm gonna tie this back into this whole idea of isolation and innovation, right? So when we were talking in our first coffee chat, we were talking about, how important it is to be rooted, right? And being passionate about what you do and who you do it for, right? And so, long story short, after this conversation, he sent me his goals list of the next 10 years, whatever it is. And I said, hey, it's been a late night, whatever, I'll call you back tomorrow. So I called him yesterday. And when I was calling him yesterday, one of the things that we highlighted is he had all these different amazing goals that he wanted to highlight and focus on. But now it comes down to this idea of clarity, right? So I'm not going to use the same goals by any means, just out of confidentiality for him, but I'm going to give an example. So let's say 10 years from now, and I'll use X Factor. We have a goal of being in all 50 states, right? Impacting thousands and thousands and thousands of people, helping them grow into the best version of themselves, whatever. But typically people stop there, and they say, okay, I want to be in all 50 states. But now if you get more granular, how can you build a plan if you don't know what the action steps are to get there, right? And what I mean by the action steps to get there is like, sure, I got a 10-year goal, but if I don't know what's happening from year 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9, how am I going to be prepared to make that decision, that leap to achieve that goal at year 10 if I didn't have any preparation ahead of time, right? And so when we were highlighting this idea with Mark, it was like, listen, all these are fantastic, but when you close your eyes and you see your vision so clearly in your head, right? Get specific and intentional with what you're doing and why you're doing it, right? For example, I want to own property in 4 or 5 states. What are those states? Right. Why does it matter to you that you need to have these different properties in these different states? Was it a person, a place, an experience? Is it because of taxes? Like, what exactly is the reason of why you're doing what you're doing? Because from there, let's say that I want to build a multifamily, or I want to buy a multifamily, and it's going to be a $25 million project, right? Okay, well, what do I need to be doing today? What do I need to be doing tomorrow and next week and next month and the month after that, 6 months from now, a year from now? Because all of that, as we always talk about, stacking days. If you don't do the compound, it's the compound effect essentially, right? If I make X amount of phone calls today, I'm going to get X amount of results. But if I make X amount of phone calls every single day for an extended period of time, it's playing the law of large numbers. Like, there's a formula to all this stuff. And if you're intentional and you can see this goal long term ahead of time, why can't you just reverse engineer the plan to get super specific? I know exactly what I need to do. So it comes down to this the last point, and then I'll pass it back to you. But it comes down to this last point. Without clarity, you're always going to be in a holding pattern. You're always going to be pulled in 1,000 different directions. Take our business, for example. We have so many different elements of our business. We broker opportunities. Okay, what does that mean? I don't care if it's the back patio that you're trying to source for a contractor. You're talking about a commercial real estate deal across the country, or you're talking about I need to meet people. It's problems, opportunities, and people is the reason why people call us. But what I'm getting at is, in the midst of all of the chaos, you have to have a certain sense of direction of what happens first. It's got to be sequential. We're going to tackle this, and then we're going to tackle the next thing, and then we're going to tackle the next thing. Because if you're trying to tackle everything at once, there's always going to be this sense of, okay, well, can you fill this cup up, right? If you have one big giant cup of water, or if you got 1,000 cups sitting here and you try to use that same bottle of water, you're going to have this much in every cup, right? So the reason I brought all this stuff up is because I want to talk about intentionality and clarity, right? Because I think it's so important, and going back to this idea of isolation and innovation, when you have people that you can lean on and you have a sense of clarity and direction, your dreams end up getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's not that you're trying to acquire more things. It's you start to understand and you see the process that you are capable of doing more, right? So that 10-year goal might happen in year 5 because you're intentional.
Right, and that you bring up a fantastic point that I want to talk about. I was talking with a buddy the other day, and he laid out a very clear vision, and it's a scary vision, let's clarify that, but it's a very clear vision of what he's going to do, all in the step-by-step sequence until he's 35, where the vision, and again, I think 99% of the people for that vision would be scared off. Like, completely scared off.
Because it's a big vision.
Because it's a huge vision.
Love it.
But it made complete sense.
Yeah.
And that's one of the blessings that God blessed us with, is you and I's ability to see other people's visions just like that.
We're the guys that people come to when they have a vision that's too big for anyone else to understand.
Exactly. And then what I did, and this was, I mean, if he wouldn't have, I don't think that he would have comprehended this vision a year ago and been able to give me the step-by-step.
Yeah,
X-Factor guy. Very, very impressed with his vision. But then I talked to him and I was like, all right, and this ties back to the goal setting that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So let's say, so that all made sense to me, right?
Yeah.
And I said, and again, 99% of people, I don't think that it would have made sense to.
Yeah.
But I said, all right, great job with that vision. I want to know what your vision is. If sunshine and rainbow land, like if you couldn't fail, what would your vision be? Like, what is it? Question. What is it where like you couldn't even comprehend the vision? You can see the end of it, but you couldn't comprehend what the steps were to get there. So for him, it was like all the steps made sense, and I'm like, yeah, those are gonna happen. Like, I know they're gonna happen. But give me something where like you have the end result that's crazy, and then let's reverse engineer the steps, because we're going to have to figure out those steps together.
Yeah.
But the whole point of that is, if you can give me the crazy version of the vision that's like, we don't even know how we're going to try and accomplish it, then we can work together, we can provide some clarity to it. And then that same vision, and again, it's still the same vision, it's just a more extreme version of it. Then that same vision that you plan on hitting at 35, now maybe you hit it at 32, maybe you hit it at 30.
Spot on.
Right?
Yeah.
So we always used to say, and numbers are the easiest way to keep score, right? So if your goal is to make $1 million in a year,
yep,
then you're gonna scratch and claw to try and make $1 million,
yep,
right? But if your goal is to make $5 or $10 million in a year, then you're gonna need to strategically think different about that.
Yeah.
Right? So if your goal is 10, if you have your original goal, and this is what I want our X Factor guys to do, I want them to set their goals.
Yep.
Right? Again, call it $1 million a year. But then I want to set the $5 million or the $10 million goal, and then let's figure out the steps on how to reverse engineer the $10 million goal, because then it's going to be a lot easier to hit that $1 million original goal that you had.
It goes back to this whole, what's the quote you like to use? Shoot for the stars, land on the moon.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Because then if you think about the different strategies on how you're going to need to make $10 million rather than making it $1 million, and again, I'm just using money because it's easy to keep score.
Yeah.
Then you're going to be operating as if you need to make $10 million, and the $1 million is just, it's going to happen like that. Then maybe you end up maybe you don't hit that $10 million goal, but you hit $5 million.
Yeah.
If you had $1 million goal, you would have stopped right there at $1 million.
I'm going to interrupt you here for a second.
Okay.
And the reason being is because this concept of money, right, is we're talking about money, and I know that's not your intention by any means. We're talking about goal setting, right? But I want you to start. I'm going to dig in and let you just run free for a second. Who do you have to become to do it, though? Because at the end of the day, right now, right, people might say, okay, Tommy just said, let's, most people shoot for this idea of making $1 million a year, right? Yeah, and you're going to push, and you would say in this situation, like, actually, I'm going to push our people to make $5 million a year. Who do they have to be? No. Follow me.
Let's flip it to clients, though. Let's make it more tangible. Like 50 clients, right? That's my goal, is to bring on 50 clients this year. But let's plan to bring on 1,000 clients this year. I don't want 1,000 clients, but if I were to bring on 1,000 clients this year and I had capacity, what would my strategy be to bring on 1,000 clients? So let's flip it. Let's flip it to the clients, because it isn't about money. That was just the easy way to keep score. Continue with your question there.
So what I'm getting at, though, right, is every entrepreneur, every business owner, commission-based earner, whatever it is, like the people that we surround ourselves in an ecosystem with, right, is when you first get started, what you think is possible is X, right? But as you fast forward through time and you evolve as a person, right, you realize that X is now a bad day for you, right? So 5 years in the future, let's say clients-wise, right, I think I can bring on 15 clients this year. I just got into the business, of any business, whatever it is, right? 5 years into it, if you bring on 15 clients only in a year, you're going to be like, I'm in a really tough spot now, right? And the reason being is because you evolve over time. So the question that I have for you is, what are we doing with X Factor and our people to help them be able to expand their way of thinking, to expand how they see what's possible, right? What are we using our platform, and what is the formula that we're helping people build? If we are the people that others come to when they have a vision that's too big for other people to understand, how do we help them do it?
From what I've heard from the people who we've impacted and who have had raving reviews for us, it's hearing about our vision naturally inspires them. Like when we fully lay it out to people, it is absurd. Like actually crazy. And for me, you spearheaded this vision 100%. And when you first told me, think about 2 years ago.
I'll never forget, you looked at me and go, dude, are you out of your skull?
Out of your mind.
Yeah.
Actually out of your mind. And then it literally took conversations, arguments, countless hours of us just talking and just being around you and your ability to vision. I always say this to people, the one big thing that separates Griffin from anybody that I've ever met is your ability to create a vision and believe in it. Like that, I can create a vision.
Yeah.
I can create a vision. I can create a very large vision.
Totally.
Because I've always had, for me, my vision has always included so many other people, all the great people in my life, that I had to have a big vision, because I'm so grateful to all the people who have supported me along the way, who have made an impact on my life. And even with that, like, X Factor, there have been so many great people with it. But the point of what I'm trying to get is my vision needed to be big enough to fit everybody else's vision within it, so we could all do it together. And I think the blessing that you've done for me, and it's taken countless work, and God bless you, Griffin, for all the work that you put into me. But like, your original vision, which has now become our vision, is just so freaking big that it allows us to be able to have other people build their visions together and alongside our vision.
Yeah.
And I was talking to one of our X Factor guys the other day, very, very strong leader, and he was saying, if my vision, because he's a leader of his team,
Yeah.
he said, if one of my team members' visions is bigger than mine, then there's going to come a point where I can't lead them anymore. So for him, it's very important to make an impact and to continue as a leader throughout his entire life, and to be able to positively influence people and to make a positive impact on people's lives, including his team members. But in order to let his team members grow into the best versions of themselves that they possibly can, he needs to have a vision as the head in order to allow people to fully execute on that vision that they had truly formulated for their lives.
You know what you just described, though? Why isolation is the enemy of innovation, because a vision is innovation, right?
Yeah.
And because, if you think about it like this, if you and I never met each other, right, my vision would have been so siloed and so tunnel visioned that it wouldn't have expanded. Because yes, I've always had a big vision. Yes, I've always had a big way of thinking. And just to be blunt with everybody, is I truly believe that you can do anything you put your mind to.
I agree.
It comes down to two things. It comes down to work ethic and who you surround yourself with, right? But the whole idea of what I'm getting at is what we've been talking about for the past 20 minutes, whatever it is when you take this idea of having a vision in your head, right? What is the purpose of having a vision if you don't have anybody else to share it with?
Right.
Because how can you refine your way of thinking if you don't have anybody else to check you? If you don't have anybody else to say, yeah, that's great, but let me try to poke holes in this to make it better.
Yes, but I do want to add a point on to that,
ahead.
Because I've experienced this a ton. It's having the right people to share your vision with. Because if
Talk about that.
Because
dive into that.
If you share your vision with people who don't have the ability to comprehend your vision, all they're going to try and do is just drag you down. I don't think that it comes from malintent by any means, but the unfortunate reality is that if they can't comprehend your vision that you're explaining to them, then they can't be of any help to it until they can actually comprehend it. So like with you and I, it's surrounding us and the X Factor community with people who have the ability to see the vision that we're talking about. That is what's crucial.
Yes.
Because you can think tank it then, because if it's like, oh, that makes sense. Like when you tell me ideas and we're just...
Yeah, go ahead. Share it with the world.
We were just talking about this yesterday, like a year ago, but this was also a great learning moment. You and I have evolved so much. Like a year ago, when you would bring these you've been bringing crazy ideas to me since we met, but when you would bring crazy ideas to me a year ago and it was like kind of time to implement them, all I would do was just poke holes in them and just like jab and again, no malintent, but like I was like slowing us down. I was bringing our goals down, or our execution, your vision down, because I couldn't comprehend it.
Or see the value of what it was going to do.
Or see the value of what it was,
execution, yeah.
of what it was going to do. So like I wasn't being an asset. Like there was no point in sharing your ideas, your vision that you had with me, because I couldn't comprehend it.
Yeah.
And then, well, thankfully for me, like whenever I shared an idea with you, it was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
But what's been great, and especially like after, and it took a while though, and there are different phases where people are going to start to get it, and unfortunately, like we don't need any proof at this point in our life. Like we kind of know that we can do whatever.
Yeah.
But like the first event, packing the room. The second event, packing the room. Getting Granite Links, like rolling, boom. Like Urban Wild, boom.
Yep.
But as we continuously hit those milestones, now, and I've made a very, very conscious effort over the last 3 months to, whenever you bring an idea to me, it's not like, let me try and poke it. It's like, I'm in. I can see it. How are we going to do it?
Yeah.
Like, what do you need from me? Who are the people that I need to plug in? Like, how can we leverage our people to help us put this together? And I think that's, to kind of put a bow on that, because I think I just got a little off tangent there, but it's when you bring ideas to me, like, let's go. Like,
what's the most recent example? Give them an example. Like the call we had last night after the event.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to describe it the way that you do, and I would like you to describe it after.
Yeah.
But basically, you called me last week, 2 weeks ago, and you were like, "We're going to get some awesome freaking cars to the open house, to CG's open house," and I was like, "All right." And you were telling me the cars. I don't even remember what they are. Like, I'm not a car guy.
Yeah.
Like you said like a Lamborghini, and I was like, at first, like my initial reaction was like, yeah, right. We're gonna get a Lamborghini. I've never even seen a Lamborghini before in my life. And then I'm like, hang on. But because of the continuous improvement that we've done on each other, where we're always looking to learn, always looking to improve, I'm like, all right, like, how are we gonna do it? And then you explained it, and I was like, all right, what do you need from me? You gave me what you needed from me. Next thing you know, we show up, and I was like, you were telling me, you were like, hey, 95% of the cars that we were planning on having there, or whatever number, like, we're getting the cars there. One of them didn't end up coming through. And I was like, all right, fine, let's go. I show up, and I'm like, oh, there's a Lamborghini. Never seen one of those before. There's the Porsche. There's the Alfa Romeo. 3 just like that. And you're like, I was like, dude, nice job. Like, this is freaking sick. And then you're like, oh, yeah, this isn't over. And then the beautiful Bentley came through, which, oh my gosh, let's get it here on camera too.
I have to buy you that car.
You have to buy me that car.
You guys heard
baby blue. Oh my gosh. It was baby blue on the outside. It was a red interior. The wheels were white. I don't know. The
rims.
I don't know. The rims were white. I don't know. Either, again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know what I'm talking about, but it was gorgeous. The yellow Lamborghini that was in there. And then the Mustang. The Mustang, the significance of the Mustang, to me, I'm like, dude, that's a dope car. And then you come back and explain to me, like, this is the significance of what it is that we did.
Yeah.
That is my version of the story. And it was, oh my gosh, people that were there were raving about the cars. Like, because again, some of those people were like me, like, I haven't seen cars like that before.
Yeah.
Like, because they've never really been like, I've never thought to. Cars weren't my thing. So, but then for you, it was fantastic seeing you as a kid in a candy store. And then the people like me, it's like, holy crap, like, I'm in front of these cars right now. But I did not do that story justice. You need to say what happened.
So one of our X Factor members, one of the hardest working people we know, he's incredible at what he does. And he had the opportunity. Well, he didn't have the opportunity. He built the opportunity for himself.
He created the opportunity.
There he is. Yeah, he created the opportunity. And this house that this open house is at was remarkable. Right? It's millions of dollars, type of property. And when we originally started talking about this open house, and we started, kind of brainstorming strategy around, our whole premise of what we do at X Factor is, how do we help our people win? That's number one, right? And I think one of the things that we've really started highlighting in what we're good at, and kind of like our way of thinking, or how we position bringing a vision to life, is what's the experience that somebody's going to walk away with, right? Based upon our conversation last night, I think that was one of the best conversations we've had. Is, for example, like, let's say that we go to see a guest speaker somewhere, right? the content is only as good as the experience that comes along with it.
Yes.
Right? So for example, let's say we go skydiving and we jump out of an airplane that's 100 feet out of the air. Drop out of the plane, you're in the water, or you're on the ground. Like, it happens like that. Versus if you go to 14,000 feet and essentially it's the ride up, it's the adrenaline rush. When you get to the bottom, it's not jumping out of the airplane, it's the experience from when you first put on the suit until the time you hit the ground. Right? The same kind of thing when we're approaching how we help people win is, how do we give people an experience where from the time they step foot on the property, from the time this event starts, they're constantly asking themselves, why have I never experienced this type of something before? I got the goosebumps. It's great. So when now that you understand the kind of the framework of how we think, when we partnered with CG on this event, they had all their different sponsors, whatever it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. Even if the cars weren't there, it was going to be a phenomenal event, right? Like, it was beautifully presented or staged. It was put on really well done. It was seamless.
Beautiful house.
But the one thing that I'm always asking myself is, what can we do to help others win and do it in a way that other people never experience? And so essentially, and this kind of talks about our A to C strategy, for example,
right.
And I'll tie a full bow on this. This is where Chuck Rhodes comes in, because Chuck Rhodes, believe it or not, he's the A to C strategy guy, right? And in context, what that means is, how do we, if you want an opportunity from someone, right? Because you can genuinely provide value to somebody's life and truly help them, but oftentimes it's not that easy. It's not like, hey Tommy, I have a pen. Like, sell me the pen in Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Oh yeah.
Sell me this pen. It's like, hey, write something on that napkin, right? Supply and demand. There you go, right? The whole idea is, that when you know that you can provide value in somebody's life, well, the way that we think about it is, we have to earn that right to present that to them, right? So how do we do that? We have to prove our value through somebody else in our network that we know is guaranteed is going to make an impact in that person's life, to where the original prospect we wanted to work with, because we wanted to make an impact, they spin themselves around like, what else do you have up your sleeve, right? Now so that's A to C strategy. Now, A to C strategy in this concept with the car event, or the open house, and how the cars played in, is, how do we help not only CG win in this environment, but how do we tag in other players that we want to expand our market with? How do we create multiple opportunities out of one, right? With this magnificent house, the first three questions I asked myself: what's the target audience of who's going to buy this house? What are the other players that have a similar target audience? And how do we bring them all together? Those are the three questions that I was constantly brainstorming in my head, right? And because of the way that you've coached me and helped me execute and put all these things together quickly, this is the way that it happened. We had this magnificent opportunity to showcase this amazing home, right? Then I started asking myself, what other people in our world are phenomenal people? I mean, Andrew, right? He's along with Ticketry, he's one of our video guys, and he is super well tied into the car market, and this kind of ties into Trust the Process with Adventure X and the whole nine, right? So I called Andrew and I said, hey, I have a question for you. I have an idea in my head. What do you think about it? And I said, what if we take some of your current clients, ACP Boston, which is a paint protection film company, essentially. They protect everybody's cars. And thank you guys. It was an amazing turnout. You guys really elevated the event. So Andrew took the idea together, or we took this idea together, and he said, why don't we use the cars that ACP has access to, and it's going to cultivate three things. Number one, we're going to elevate the experience of the event, right? We're going to put on an experience that nobody else typically does or has, right? Number two is, we're taking three different people who all play in the same sandbox that all get to cross-pollinate their audience or target audience together. Because the houses that CG is selling his audience, he already has a target demographic that he focuses on, right? ACP already has a current clientele, but they all are shopping for the same things in the same price range, right? So what if we bring new eyes, new faces, new audience members, and we do it all and tell a story through an idea of a video, where when it gets posted, we're cross-pollinating opportunities for everybody involved. And so when you show up to the house that night, by the way, I want to say thank you to ACP, because the car they brought, this is where I get my kid in a candy shop moment. There's a new car called the Mustang GTD. Okay, it is one of the most sought-after cars in the market right now. If you know what Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsche, all those kind of things are, this is the hottest, most sought-after car in the market. Ford built this car to prove a point. They built this car to dominate the marketplace around the track, right? There is one of these cars in the state, and it was at CG's event last night. There's one of them, right? Matter of fact, some of our X Factor guys are in pursuit of finding that exact car. And nobody can get their hands on them. Nobody. And of all places, the one car in the state showed up at that event last night. And even if people didn't understand the significance, right? What it means to me, because I'm a car guy, I was like, this is remarkable, right? And again, I don't want to portray this the wrong way. Like, it is all through the partnership with Andrew and ACP that all that happened. But I think the significance of why we're telling this story is because the essence of what we do at X Factor, and tying this back to isolation and innovation, is if we were in this silo of isolation, then we never would have thought outside of the box to create innovation.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. And what we saw come to life was remarkable. It was incredible. Before we move or segue to the next point, there is one thing that I want to dive into. It's one of the most impactful things you've ever said to me. There's a small group of people that you can share your problems with. There's an even smaller group of people that you can share your success with. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
Just making sure that I heard you correctly. There's a small group of people who you can actually share your problems with. But there's an even smaller group of people who you can share your successes with.
Right.
Right.
And this is where I'll answer my own question. So what I meant by the question is because it came from a conversation that you and I had, and basically exactly what we were just saying, right? Is I feel like everybody has this, especially I'll speak from my perspective when it comes to guys, right? Is there's ego involved, there's a sense of pride involved, and so you always want to have this image or perception that you're doing well. You always want to have this perception that people, even in the event that you're not doing well, you want to present yourself like you are, because if you come across somebody that's going to give you an opportunity, or there might be an opportunity to extract there, that you're ready and you're actually the person that can give them the quality of work they're looking for, right? Even if behind the closed doors you're sinking, right? And so essentially they're wearing this mask. And so the premise of there's a small group of people that you can actually share your problems with is like, there's a small group of people you can take that mask off and be like I'm actually struggling, right? Without feeling judged, without feeling like they're going to think less of you, and like they're not going to support you anymore because you have this image of success or that you're doing well. That's one thing, right? But it is an entirely different thing to say, you know what, knowing where I came from, right? There's this. We always talk about the journey, right? And knowing, like, nobody understands how hard it actually is to do this. I take that back. The Ticketry guys know how fucking hard, know how hard this is, because they built it from the ground up. I can't even imagine. And one of these days we're gonna sit down over a glass of whiskey or beers, and I want to hear their story, because the amount of things that happen in the dark, the amount of struggles, the amount of hard work, the amount of work that you put in with nothing to stand on, nobody else knows. Mm-hmm. And so when I talk about when that's the beginning of your journey, and then you fast forward 2 or 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is, and you close $1 million deal, right? Your bank account 2.5 years ago might have been zero, and all of a sudden you just stepped into what's the quote unquote the promised land, right? Where now I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, with who I want, however I want to do it, right? How many people do you actually get to go and tell that because you're proud of yourself? And again, it ties back to this idea of isolation, right? Is because you're proud of yourself, you can only experience so much happiness and joy by yourself. You can only experience life at a certain level of magnitude or a certain level of bliss by yourself. But when you have the chance and the opportunity to share it with that, when I say a minute circle of people, it's the people who will say, yeah, you're buying dinner tonight, right? But it's also the type of people who genuinely, when you look at them in the eyes, you know they're genuinely excited for you. Mm-hmm. You know that they just want to see you succeed because it means something different. They're like a brother, right? They're like family to you. That is so rare. It is so rare to have that. In matter of fact, and often cases, family's included in that, right? Where you can't even go to your own family. Like imagine that kind of feeling as an entrepreneur who is scratched and clawed your way out of the abyss of nothing, right? And when you finally get to that day where you feel like you've made it, you can't even go to your own family to tell them that.
There's a couple different points, and then I want to segue onto that family part that you talked about. I think you were freaking spot on. The successes part, where sharing the success with a small group of people, it's guys' innate nature, competitive, conquer the world. It's the pissing contest that guys get into, yeah. Right? But I'm curious if there's a sequencing of how you are actually able to share the successes with people. So I mean,
Interesting.
when we started, and the reason why is because like my buddies who, like
Yeah.
you know who I'm talking about, no need to do names,
Yeah.
but like there's a small group of people who and it took a while, but like we were struggling when we started this, like it was bad.
I got a picture of my bank account to prove it.
I know. And this journey, the amount of time, money, energy that we invested into X Factor, and but then we also had to put on the appearance, or we thought that we had to put on the appearance of, we're doing so well, this is going great, like life is great. And then tying it back to that isolation part, like for me it killed me.
Yeah.
And
before we move on, what was the hardest, like what killed you most?
It was the isolation.
Like, what about it though?
I had you.
Yeah.
And you had Jenny Rose.
Yeah.
So you had me and Jenny Rose. My Jenny Rose is out there, let's clarify that. But
yeah.
I didn't.
You still have.
I still have Jenny Rose.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that one person to just go lean on at night that like knew everything that was going on. And it came to a point where I remember, because you and I made a pact in the beginning, like fake it till you make it, and that's how my mother bred me, and that's why I want to end up getting into the family part after. But we were struggling bad mentally, financially. Yeah. Just, do we keep going? We'd built up so much momentum and then we'd lost it. And finally I was like, because again, we made the pact that we were going to keep it internal. But then I was like, dude, I have to talk to somebody about this. Like, I can't just keep it all in. So there was a very small group of my buddies from college that, and it's not like I told them in a whole, but individually I shared with them just what was going on from the different standpoints, and they got it, and they like had an idea of it just because I was acting differently. But granted, like during the entrepreneurial journey, like you're gonna act differently anyways, where you're consistently evolving as human beings. But like there was something off, and I spent 4 awesome years with these guys. Let's clarify that. He also just stole my water. So.
Thank you.
But like these guys, these certain guys, like I let it out to them. I told them basically exactly what was going on in my head, what was going on in my life, what position that you and I had put ourselves in, and how we had actually pushed the chips all into the table. And because of that, and we had legitimate conversations in college, but like that was like a real conversation that we had. And our friendships grew like tremendously. From me telling them that, like, I think, they thanked me. They were like, dude, thank you for like
trusting me
enough to tell them that, like to let them in on what was going on, because like they want to help. And to tie that back to like the first event, like getting people to the first event, like that wasn't easy. It was just a concept, right? But we needed to go to our people and ask for help. And I learned, I don't want to say probably one of the best lessons of my life. Like people want to help, but you need to give them the opportunity to help, right? Like, and the thought process behind that, and then I'm going to get back to that. The thought process behind that is, if I would go help them, if they asked me for help, which I would all day, any day, then I need to give them the respect that they would come back and do it for me. And when people help other people, there's the sense of fulfillment that happens, right? Like they were needed, like they were important. It's giving them like a micro sense of purpose by knowing that they're helping me and coming through for me.
It's fantastic.
So like by being able to share my struggles with that select group of people and like what was really going on, it really increased our friendships and the strength of our friendships. And then
Before you move on, I have to step in here.
okay.
And the biggest reason being is because obviously, like, I heard the noise. What I mean the noise is like I wasn't a part of those conversations, but we talked about that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the chills thinking about this, to be honest. It's after that conversation took place, not only did it feel like a weight was lifted off your shoulders, but the growth that I've seen in those people since then, the growth and the journey that, and again, like when I say chills, I mean like covered in them, you know? And the reason why I'm covered in chills, that's like obviously my God wink, but the whole idea is like sometimes when you let your guard down and you give other people the chance to be there for you, it opens up their perspective on what they're allowed to do, because guess what? Other people are suffering in silence the same exact way that you are.
Mm-hmm.
And the growth that I've seen, for lack of better terms, the cojones that I have seen the boys execute and become better and want more for themselves and want to become better people since conversations like that took place has been a joy to watch, to be honest. Because when you get to see, like, you used our story and your story as a catalyst or the thing that catapulted them to want better for themselves.
Right.
Before I move on, I want to highlight this because it kind of takes us full circle back to the first event. As soon as you said it, it popped in my brain. I had to interrupt. God will always use a failure from your past to fuel the success in your future.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what it was. You took the failure in that situation. You finally let it off your chest. The success wasn't anything materialistic or tangible. The success was watching the people around you. You sparked a genuine curiosity of how I can become a better person. How can I be there for my people? How can I better myself? That's the success. Using the failure in that moment to generate something beautiful out of it was incredible to watch.
And I want to just make a quick note, then we'll go back to that. You said failure. And a lot of people had actually complimented me on the post. I don't want you to use the word failure. It's defeat.
I like that.
The defeat that we had.
Yeah.
Because it's only failure
if you quit.
If you quit.
Yep.
Exactly. But to sequence, because I think you kind of got a little ahead of yourselves. I had the individual conversations with the select group of people where I expressed and kind of let it off my chest on what happened. And then we had that conversation with us as the group.
Yeah.
Where people had let it out and we had been buddies, and then it's like, holy crap, like even me, like I learned even after I shared that, I still didn't know the other struggles that they were going through that they hadn't shared. But then when we were there in that group, that's when they had started to share the struggles, their journey, their life from a high level, but
totally,
like still things that like, wow, I've known you, but I didn't know that. Like I had an idea, but like I didn't know like what actually went down and through it. So now, progressed through time over this beautiful and up and down 11 months, like as we've had micro wins and big wins, small wins, whatever type of wins, like I'm calling them. You know what I mean? Like I'm telling them about that, and they're like, dude, let's go. Because it's my win is their win. Their win is my win. Like that's how we see it, because we're moving in the same direction. And to X Factor here, it's again the big vision. Everybody in each, especially those people, like they each have a place here to grow their vision with our vision alongside in two different silos, whatever it might be, which is ultimately the beauty of it. Because what's the point of having all the money in the world if you don't have anybody to celebrate it with?
That's right.
And then one more side note, then I want to get into the family part of it.
Okay.
There's this post on Instagram that I love. It comes on my feed like every 3 or 4 months, of George Clooney. He for his 14 best friends who supported him throughout his entire life, he gave each of them $1 million and paid the taxes for it, just as like a thank you.
Yeah. And
that's like always hit home for me, because again, I've had so many people that have supported me and who have taken care of me my entire life that like I need to know that I like take care of them in return. So like for me, especially, most of my buddies are all entrepreneurial minded business guys. So it's like I send that post into our group chat and I'm like, they know exactly what it means. But I don't want to give them the cash. I want to give them the investment so that they can go build whatever it is that they want to build. Tying back to our first podcast, like, what would you do if money didn't exist? All right. So if money didn't exist, and
put your money where your mouth is,
and we gave you as X Factor the $1 million investment into whatever it is that you wanted to do. That is what I see is the truly beneficial, because cash, you can go, you can club, you can party, you can do whatever. These are sharp guys. Like I'm confident that they're going to do something great with it. But like, I want to invest into you as a person, right? I don't care about, which is contradictory to our former career. Like, I don't care about the stock market returns. Like, I don't care about those returns. I want to invest into people. That's the best ROI that you're going to get.
Yep.
Is if we can help seed fund different people with these amazing skill sets, with these beautiful ideas, then their impact that they're going to make, this is going to be an exponential impact that's going to be made on the world, because at the end of the day, our mission is to impact as many lives as humanly possible.
That's right.
So if we can help impact those people and help seed fund those people who are then going to exponentially impact all those different lives, like, that's how we make our mark done. Like, we don't need to be the ones that are directly impacting people's lives. I personally don't want to be, well, I shouldn't say that, but like, I don't need to be the person.
You don't need to be the face.
I don't need to be the face
succeed.
of it. I just, for me, like, the fulfillment is knowing that I helped play a role in not only them living up to their full potential, but them then being able to make the impact that I've always seen and known that they could make. Do you want to go out?
I do have
build off
I have a question, and let's put a pin in that for a second.
Okay.
Do you think that people genuinely have a place they can go, be vulnerable, to find the starting place of how to build the life they want to go? Or how to build, let me pause. Do you think that people genuinely know where to find a place where they get to go, take their mask off, be genuinely authentic, and find the roadmap that's going to give them fulfillment first, and then figure out how to monetize it?
No.
Why?
It's a culture thing.
Right? Because, and the reason why I bring this up is because the way that my father raised me specifically is the reason why I have the mentality that I do today. Right? And I'm also fortunate enough to have, you know, my sister's a superhero. My mom is a superhero. My mom's the most resilient human being I've ever met my entire life. Not to mention, she's never complained to why the obstacles from the past have ever impacted her potential in the future, right? And having these people surrounding me my entire life, there's two things that I was raised on. Failure doesn't exist unless you stop trying. And you have to be willing to do today what others won't, so you can do what others can't tomorrow. You have to be willing to grind it out more than other people do. You have to be willing to grind. You have to be willing to put in time. You have to be willing to do all these things. It's this cup. But the whole reason why I bring that up is because I'm so blessed, for lack of better terms, that my dad raised me to be a warrior. He raised me with this impenetrable mentality that no matter what obstacles are thrown your way, there's no excuses. Everything falls on you. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't seek help and you shouldn't try to lean on the other people around you. But ultimately, it comes down to what you choose to do, what actions you choose to take are going to dictate what your future looks like. And the reason why I bring that up and how I want to segue that into the family concept is I think that so oftentimes people, they're in an environment for so long where other people are telling them what they should want. Other people are telling them what the expectations are telling them what bar they are capable of reaching, right? And it's all out of... It's not out of a place of detriment necessarily. It's out of a place of they want the best for you, but it's also they can only coach you as much as they've experienced or as much as they've been coached. And right before, and then I'll let you go, and what I mean by that, once you outgrow the people around you, it's not that you're leaving them behind. It's that you need to get fed by a different source now. And X Factor was built to be the place that no matter how big your vision is, no matter what background, no matter what upbringing, no matter what mentality, no matter what it is, it's the one place that you finally get to go to find the real version of you, to find the version of you that actually finds fulfillment in any situation. It's a platform where people get to go to not be judged of where you are, to not be judged of what your finances are. It's kind of like going to the gym, right? Let's say I go to the gym after 17 years of not going to the gym, and I look over to my right and I see a guy benching 400 pounds, and I got 25s on the side of the bench. You have two options. You can either say, I'm never coming back because I'm embarrassed of the people around me, or you can make a decision in that moment that this is my starting place and that's what I'm working up to. X Factor is the ladder. X Factor is the place that says it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter who you are, right? You finally found a place where the other people around you want to watch you succeed in a way that you've never experienced before, family included. That kind of environment people are so in search of. People are looking for this because every single human being has an innate nature of two things: connection and survival. And when you feel like you're in survival mode, it eliminates the connection. We flip that on its head. We give you connection so you don't feel like you have to be in survival mode. When everybody else wants to see you win and succeed, you finally get to take off your mask and be like, I'm going to stop lying to myself. I'm going to stop lying to the other people around me. I'm going to stop pretending to be somebody I'm not, because I finally found the one ecosystem that's going to allow me to blossom into the person I was always meant to be.
How am I supposed to follow that? Like, that was perfectly said. I do want to drill into one point that your father drilled into. I don't remember exactly what you said.
Guy's a weapon.
Big bird.
Yeah.
But
we got to make sure to put that in there.
Yeah, 100%. And I got to make sure.
Last point.
Wrap it up.
Okay. I got to make sure that I'm going to try and word this the best that I can, but people love to blame people love to blame other people, other reasons. There's always a reason why things happen to them. External circumstances should not dictate your internal state. There's one.
I like that.
But then there's also, I am directly responsible for everything that happens to me in my life. So this is where, as we've evolved, everything is an opportunity to learn. So like if I didn't close a sale, it's not, oh, that person was terrible. It's no, what could I have improved, or what should I have done better? Or what was the lesson that God was trying to teach me during that, and how do I then learn from that and then improve to then be able to close that sale next time? And I said this last time, but like, every setback is an opportunity to learn.
Yep.
Right? So like everything, and this is something that you and I have really talked about more recently, is what could we have done better? It's not about the other person. It's how can we improve ourselves to bridge the gap between. It's because we're on this
relentless pursuit of full potential, and iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron.
It comes back to one thing, and it's mentality. That is the number one thing, right? In the last podcast we did, we talked about something. It was mindset and money, right? At the end of the day, the mindset that you have dictates everything else. Right? Here's what I'm talking about. Gratefulness is the one thing that levels the playing field. Right? I have $5. Let's say I have $5 in my bank account. Okay? When I walk down the street in Boston, the amount of people that I see that are homeless, that could be us. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, it would say, if I walked out of the house and I didn't see one of these homeless people, I might say, hey, I only have $5. Poor me. Like, I'm going to sink, whatever. But as soon as you have a different perspective, or a change of lens of how you see things, it opens up the door of what's possible or what comes next. Where you are today doesn't dictate where you're going to be tomorrow. Where you are today is just the starting place and your opportunity to steer the ship in the way that you want to, or steer the ship to where you want to go. The last thing I'll leave you with, and I'll pass the reins back to you. It is never too late to become who you could have been. If I'm not mistaken, the Starbucks founder was in his mid-50s. That guy worked his entire life. If he would have stopped, let's say that he started this journey when he was 25, trying to be a successful entrepreneur, whatever it is, right? If he would have stopped at 30, that's 5 years into the journey. Or 35, 10 years into the journey. 40, 45, 20 years into the journey. Most people would have quit. 30 years later, all of a sudden, it works. And the only reason why he created something that now is a world-renowned, household-known thing is because he never, ever quit.
To round that all up, mentality, not quitting, family part that I wanted to make sure that I got in. Two biggest things that I learned from my mother. God bless my mother. And we talked about this last time. She never let me quit, like you had just said. But she said, if you put whatever you put your mind to, you can do. She always believed in me. Always believed in me. You just gotta believe. You just gotta believe. You just gotta believe.
Love it.
And I am just so eternally grateful that she drilled those two things into me.
Amazing woman.
Because the belief, the delusional belief that we have in X Factor, that we started with, and that now there's proof of concept.
We'll never lose it.
Impactful and essential to the growth of X Factor.
I got a good one to round us out.
Okay.
Before the hooks. If you were to give a piece of advice in the midst of the hole, right, in the darkest place we've ever been on our journey, what's the number one thing that you would advise people on, or to do, or what to think about, what to pursue? What would you tell them? The old version of you.
What would I tell the old version of me? It's from Trip. Don't quit.
Love it.
Don't quit. Can't.
Incredible. Bang.
Bang.